On a Friday evening, what should have been the start of an idyllic weekend turned into a moment of confrontation. I stood in the center of my living room, my voice elevated, anger surging within me. My husband, as was his custom, brushed off my emotions, treating my grievances as mere annoyances. "You're blowing this out of proportion, Amal," he said, snatching his car keys. "I don't have time for this." "Of course you don't," I retorted, arms crossed tightly. "You never do." He let out a sharp breath, shaking his head. "I'm meeting the guys. Don't wait up." And with that, he vanished, leaving me seething, fists clenched at my sides. I grabbed my phone and began texting my girlfriends. Their responses came swiftly, offering the support I craved. "Forget him. Come out with us. Let's have a real night." I didn't waver. If he could go out without a care, so could I. An hour later, I stepped out of a sleek black car in front of one of LA's trendiest clubs. The bass of the music reverberating through the pavement beneath my stilettos. My friends were waiting in line, dressed impeccably, their faces lighting up when they saw me. "You look incredible," one said, eyeing me approvingly. And I did. My dress clung perfectly to my curves, my heels elongating my legs impossibly. I felt radiant, alluring, empowered. The moment we entered, the club's energy enveloped me like a tidal wave. Dim lights, the heady mix of perfume and liquor, the relentless pulse of the music. This place was pure seduction. We headed to the bar, ordering drinks, laughing, and losing ourselves in the moment. Then I felt it, a gaze fixed on me. I turned subtly, scanning the crowd, and there they were. Two men standing apart from the club's frenzy, exuding a confidence that quickened my pulse. They weren't like the others, desperate, overly eager, or trying too hard. These men radiated authority, control, evident in their stance and the dark, knowing intensity of their eyes, as if they'd already mapped out the night's conclusion. They were tall, strikingly handsome, their smooth, dark skin gleaming under the lights, their muscular frames exuding raw strength and dominance. They were the kind of men who claimed what they desired without hesitation, and I wanted to be claimed. I forced myself to look away, pretending that their presence didn't affect me. But my body betrayed me, skin prickling, breath uneven. As if sensing my thoughts, they approached. Before I could process it, they were beside me, their presence overwhelming. One leaned in, his voice like velvet. "You look like you could use another drink." He offered me a glass, his fingers brushing mine, sending a jolt through me. I hesitated for a moment before accepting heat rising in my cheeks. "Join us," the other said, gesturing to a private table in the club's corner. My friends nudged me, giggling, urging me on. I didn't resist. I followed, my heart racing, my body already yielding to the night. At their table, I felt their commanding presence envelop me, their sheer power making my pulse surge. My friends trailed behind, tossing me knowing glances, but I barely registered them. My focus was entirely on these men. We reached a VIP section, a secluded booth shielded from the main crowd. The music still throbbed, but here it felt intimate, charged. The men moved with effortless confidence, drawing attention without effort. The taller one slid into the booth first, motioning for me to sit beside him. His eyes burned into mine, dark and enigmatic, filled with something that tightened my stomach. His physique was extraordinary. Broad shoulders, thick arms, a strength that hinted at unspoken promises. I'm Darius, he said, his voice a deep rumble. And I'm Malik, the other added, his slow, deliberate smirk making my breath catch as he leaned back, watching my reactions. He was equally imposing, his sharp jawline and full lips captivating. Amal, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt, despite my pounding heart. Darius tilted his head, his gaze roaming over me, taking in every detail. Beautiful name. A waiter appeared, setting down more drinks. Darius handed me a glass, and this time I didn't hesitate. I sipped slowly, the warmth of the alcohol amplifying the fire already simmering beneath my skin. So, Malik said, his fingers idly tracing the rim of his glass. What brings a woman like you out tonight? I gave a soft laugh, shaking my head. Let's just say my husband had other plans, so I made some of my own. They exchanged a glance, subtle but unreadable, though Darius's smirk deepened. His loss, he murmured. My breath hitched. The way he said it, low, assured, made my thighs press together instinctively. The conversation flowed seamlessly, laced with flirtation. The tension so palpable, it pressed against my skin. They were charming, smooth, but there was something darker beneath it, something dangerous, and I craved more. I leaned in slightly, fingers gracing the base of my glass, watching them through my lashes. So tell me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, are you two always this generous with your attention? Malik chuckled, his eyes locked on mine, only when we see something we want. The heat between us sparked, crackled, ready to ignite, and I was more than ready to let it. Darius and Malik held my gaze, their eyes heavy with something dark, dangerous. The way they looked at me made my breath catch, my pulse pound in my ears. They weren't just flirting, they were hunting, and I was already theirs. Malik leaned in first, his voice a low murmur against my ear. You like being wanted, don't you? A shiver ran down my spine. His lips barely grazed my skin, but the effect was immediate, heat flooding through me. Darius watched closely, his smirk slow, knowing. His fingers reached out, tracing the back of my hand on the table, the touch subtle but electrifying. You've been watching us since you walked in, Malik said, his voice smooth yet teasing. And now you're here. I swallowed hard, gripping my glass tighter. Maybe I was just curious. Malik chuckled, his fingers brushing lightly against my knee under the table. Curiosity can be dangerous, Amal. A thrill surged through me. The club pulsed around us, music, laughter, flashing lights, but it all faded. The only thing that mattered was the presence of these two men, their confidence, the way they carried themselves, the way their attention never wavered. Come with us, Darius murmured, his tone low, assured, a command rather than a suggestion. I followed without hesitation, my breath quickening. I could feel my friend's eyes on me, their knowing smirks, but I barely acknowledged them. Malik took my hand, his grip firm, leading me through the dimly lit club, Darius close behind. We wove through the crowd, past swaying bodies, past booths filled with people lost in their own worlds. Then suddenly, I was gently pressed against the cool surface of a hallway door, Darius standing close, his presence commanding. I exhaled slowly, as Malik's hands slid down my arms, his touch warm, steady. You're shaking, Darius murmured, tilting my chin up to meet his eyes. I'm not scared, I whispered. And I wasn't. I was alive. Malik smirked. Good. In one fluid motion, Darius leaned in, his lips brushing mine, slow at first, testing, then deepening, pulling me into something inescapable. Malik's breath was at my ear, his hand resting lightly on my back, steadying me as my pulse roared. I wasn't thinking about the music, the crowd, just them. Darius's movements were deliberate, every touch igniting something deep within me. Malik's presence was equally intoxicating, his energy crackling between us. And this was only the beginning. Malik's breath was hot against my ear, his fingers tracing slow, teasing patterns along my arms, my waist, my thighs. I was caught between them, their bodies pressing against mine, overwhelming me, making me forget everything else. The music pounded outside, but here, in the dimly lit bathroom, time slowed. I wasn't thinking about where I was or the choices I was making. I was feeling every touch, every breath, every ounce of heat radiating between us. Darius's lips trailed down my neck, his stubble rough against my skin, leaving a tingling path of sensation. I tilted my head back, yielding to the pleasure, my body arching instinctively against him. Malik chuckled, his fingers running through my hair before tilting my chin to meet his gaze. "You like this, don't you?" he murmured, his lips hovering just over mine. I nodded, my breath shaky. "Yes." He smirked, his fingers tightening around my waist. "Then stop pretending you don't." I didn't need to pretend anymore. Malik's lips crashed against mine, his kiss as fierce as Darius's, but different. More playful, teasing, yet just as commanding. My hands moved over him, feeling the hard muscle beneath his shirt, the way his body responded to my touch. Darius didn't retreat. His hands moved lower, gripping my hips, pressing himself against me. The heat of his breath on my neck, Malik's mouth on mine, the strength of their bodies surrounding me. I was lost in it, surrendering completely. My phone buzzed in my purse, a sharp, intrusive vibration. I stiffened for a moment. My husband. But the thought flickered and vanished like a whisper. I didn't reach for it. I didn't care. Malik must have noticed my hesitation because his fingers brushed over my jaw, pulling my gaze back to his. "You're not thinking about him, are you?" I swallowed, my pulse hammering. "No." Darius smirked against my skin. "Good." The phone buzzed again, and I ignored it. This wasn't a mistake. This was freedom, everything I'd craved for so long. Malik's hands tightened on my waist. Darius's lips pressed against my collarbone, and I let myself fall deeper, drowning in the heat, the pleasure in them. This night was far from over, and I never wanted it to end. I had never felt anything like this. The intensity, the heat, the way their bodies enveloped me, making me feel small in the best way. Darius's strong hands gripped my hips, anchoring me to him, his chest rising and falling with deep, steady breaths. Malik's fingers trailed over my skin, teasing, unraveling me piece by piece. I couldn't think anymore. Didn't want to. The music outside throbbed like a heartbeat. But in this dimly lit space, time folded in on itself. There was no club, no people, no husband, only them. Darius's lips were hot against my skin, tracing a slow path down my neck, his breath sending shivers through me. Malik tilted my chin, forcing my eyes to meet his as he smirked, his gaze dark and knowing. "You're ours tonight," he murmured. The words sent a thrill through me, setting every nerve ablaze. I wanted to be theirs. My phone buzzed again, louder, more insistent. I turned my head slightly, glimpsing the glowing screen in my purse, my husband's name flashing across it. For a moment, reality tried to intrude. The life waiting beyond these walls, the vows I'd made, the expectations of who I was supposed to be. But then Darius's fingers traced the curve of my thigh. Malik's lips brushed my ear, and every rational thought vanished. I reached for my phone, not to answer but to silence it. The screen went dark, and so did my last shred of restraint. Darius's hands tightened, pulling me against his firm, unyielding body. "That's more like it," he murmured against my lips. My body ached with anticipation, my breath shallow. Malik chuckled, his fingers running down my spine, leaving a trail of fire. "You wanted this the second you saw us," he said, his voice low, teasing. I exhaled shakily, nodding. Yes, I needed this. My entire body burned, every inch of me alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. My husband had never touched me like this, never made me feel truly desired. But Darius and Malik, they had all of my attention tonight. Their movements were smooth, assured, their presence overwhelming in the best way. They didn't hesitate, didn't second guess. They knew I was here, that I wanted this, and they met me with equal intensity. The room felt smaller, warmer, the air charged with something unspoken. I let go of every thought except this moment, letting them take the lead, guiding me into something I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't Amal, the wife, anymore. I was free, full of desire, awake, thrilled, immersed in the intensity of it all. The outside world faded, the music, the distant voices, the flashing lights. All that mattered was the pull between us, the way everything slowed to just this. Darius's hand rested firmly on my waist, grounding me, his presence unshakable. I could feel the tension in him, the way his body moved with mine, his breath steady but controlled. Malik, standing close, brushed slow, deliberate circles along my wrist with his fingertips, his touch feather-like teasing, yet commanding. They moved in sync, as if they'd done this before, as if they already knew exactly what I needed. "You don't hesitate anymore?" Malik murmured, his lips brushing my ear, his voice laced with amusement. I exhaled shakily, my pulse racing. "Neither do you." Darius smirked, his deep voice vibrating through me. "We knew what you wanted the second we saw you." His fingers traced my jaw, tilting my chin until our eyes met. "Didn't we?" I swallowed hard. He was right. From the moment I'd noticed them across the room, something in me had shifted. I had wanted this, wanted them. And now, here I was. Malik chuckled, his voice low and knowing. "And now, you're here." His fingers slid down my spine, slow, deliberate, sending shivers through me. "With us." I bit my lip, nodding. Yes. The word was a surrender, a confession, a declaration of exactly what this night was, what I was doing. And I had never felt so alive. Darius's lips found my collarbone, his kisses slow, lingering, his stubble rough against my skin. Malik traced the curve of my waist with his hands, his fingers pressing into me, firm, possessive. My breath hitched, my body pressing into their touch, craving more, needing more. The room was small but felt vast, an endless abyss of heat and temptation swallowing me whole. Every touch ignited something deep inside me, something reckless I'd buried so long I'd nearly forgotten it existed. Now it was burning. Malik's lips found my shoulder, his breath hot against my skin. "You're not thinking about him anymore, are you?" My eyes fluttered shut. My husband, probably still out with his friends, laughing, drinking, assuming I was home, asleep, waiting like always. I should have felt guilt, but I didn't. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for anyone. I was living. I opened my eyes, meeting Malik's gaze. No, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. Darius hummed in approval, his hands tightening on my hips. Good. My phone buzzed again from my purse. I didn't glance at it. I didn't care. All that mattered was this: the way my body melted between them, the way their hands moved over me, the way my pulse thundered in my ears. Malik's fingers traced my lips, his touch gentle, teasing. Say it, he murmured. I shivered, my breath catching. Say what? Darius's grip tightened. That you want this. I met their gazes, my heart hammering. I do, I breathed. And just like that, I was theirs. They didn't wait, didn't hesitate. Darius's lips crashed against mine, his kiss deep, consuming, his hands roaming over my body as if memorizing every inch. Malik's touch was softer, but just as commanding, his fingers sliding through my hair, down my spine, making me tremble beneath them. I surrendered completely, losing myself in the moment, in them. For the first time in my life, I didn't think, I just felt. By Sunday evening, I stepped back into my house, the air inside feeling different, smaller, colder, almost stifling. It wasn't my home that had changed, it was me. I had left on Friday as one woman and returned as someone else. I set my purse down, my body still humming from the weekend, from the hands that had claimed me, the whispers still echoing in my mind. Every step through my home felt detached, like walking through a life that no longer felt mine. Then my husband appeared in the doorway, a nervous smile on his face, holding a bouquet of roses. I stared at them for a moment, my expression unreadable. Amal, he exhaled, stepping closer. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I tilted my head, waiting. I was an arse on Friday, he continued. I shouldn't have left like that. I shouldn't have dismissed you. You were right to be upset. He ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely remorseful. I don't want us to fight like that. I love you, you know, and I want to make it up to you. I blinked. Love me? The words sounded foreign, empty, weightless. I'd spent years waiting for these apologies, hoping for change, craving the attention he was now offering, thinking I'd sulked all weekend. But I felt nothing. Not anger, not relief, not even satisfaction. Just nothing. He extended the flowers, his voice softer. Let me take you to dinner tonight. Let's just have a nice evening, okay? I took the bouquet, staring at the perfect petals, the deep red, rich, beautiful, and utterly meaningless. I met his gaze, smiled faintly. I forgive you. The relief on his face was almost amusing. I stepped past him, walking down the hallway to my room. I didn't look back. I closed the door, exhaling, the weight of the weekend settling into my skin. I placed the flowers on the dresser, untouched, then sat on the edge of the bed. For the first time since returning, I pulled out my phone. The screen lit up, and there it was. Darius Malik. A simple contact saved. A link to a world I'd just discovered. A freedom I hadn't known I was missing. They hadn't texted first. They didn't need to. They knew I'd come back. That one message, one call, would have me in their arms again. Surrendering. Burning. I smirked, my fingers hovering over the screen. A rush of excitement curling in my stomach. Life had resumed its usual rhythm. But now, whenever I wanted, I could make the night mine again. And no one would ever know. The house was silent. Too silent. I leaned back against the headboard, phone in hand, the screen's glow illuminating my face. The scent of the roses lingered, but they meant nothing. My husband thought an apology, a dinner invitation, and flowers could erase years of neglect. He had no idea. I traced my finger over the edge of my phone, staring at their names, Darius, Malik. My body reacted just seeing them, remembering their hands, their voices wrapping around me like silk, pulling me into a world free of responsibilities, expectations, only pleasure. I wasn't supposed to crave this, but I did. It wasn't just the passion, the way they'd taken control, making me feel things I hadn't in years. It was the power of knowing I could have this whenever I wanted. That beyond this house, this marriage, there was a world where I was more than a wife, more than a woman waiting to be noticed. A small smirk played on my lips as I opened our message thread. I hadn't texted them yet, but the temptation weighed heavily in my chest. What would I say? That I couldn't stop thinking about them, that every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that dark, heated room. Their hands on me, their lips claiming me, their bodies pressing me into something I never wanted to escape. Or should I keep it simple? When can I see you again? I let out a slow breath, placing the phone on my nightstand. Not tonight, but soon. Very soon. I turned off the light and lay back against the pillows, my body still thrumming with their memory. My husband was somewhere in the house, thinking everything was normal. But he'd already lost me. And the best part, he didn't even know it.